Morning all. All right, so we were up to the 1924-1925 season. As you can see, I had to change up the magnets because we're adding teams to the league, and that's going to be the case. As I go through this playlist, obviously there's going to be expansion, there's going to be more teams, there's also going to be less teams. It's going to drop a bit too when we get into the original six era. But yeah, the Hamilton Tigers, and the only chance I have to wear a Hamilton Tigers jersey during this playlist. And I will admit, when I got a Hamilton Tigers jersey from their OHL team a couple of years ago, I kind of had a series like this in mind when I purchased it. So Hamilton finishes 19-10-1 on the season. They score 90 goals, they allow 60. Really excellent year. Toronto 19-11, 90 goals scored, 84 goals against. Montreal 17-11-2 record, 93 goals scored, 56 goals against. For Ottawa, they're 17-12-1, so 1 point back of Montreal. 83 goals scored, 66 goals against. And the Montreal Maroons have been added. So they didn't actually play with a name, but since they had these dark jerseys, since they were maroon color, that became their team name. They went 9-19-2, 45 goals scored, 65 goals against. The Boston Bruins, 6-24 in their first season, 49 goals scored, 119 goals against. And this means that there's an American team in the NHL. It's a first, and it's Boston. So, Boston, not a great first season, although towards the end of the season, their results were getting a little bit better. And we were seeing less competition with the National Hockey League. The PCHA folds. So Vancouver and Victoria, the two surviving teams from the PCHA, they merge into the WCHL, which wasn't going to last much longer either. Now, Hamilton finishes first. So the plan was second and third place teams meet each other in a semifinal. Hamilton gets a bye and then plays the winner of Toronto-Montreal. Easy peasy. However, the players decided we're going to boycott the playoffs because our season was longer and our salary stayed the same. So they were arguing they deserved an extra $200 as compensation for having played the extra games, and they were willing to sit out to make it happen. Frank Calder, who runs the league, decided no. So he suspended the team. He actually met with a representative of the team before he made the decision, but he suspended the team. And so he came out and he said, you know what? We just won't have Hamilton in the playoffs then. Toronto and Montreal, whoever wins that series, moves on to the Stanley Cup final. Just imagine, just think about if this had happened today, the kind of chaos that would create when a team finishes first and then is told, all right, fine, you're not in the playoffs then. Absolute insanity. Only the National Hockey League. So Frank Calder suspends the team. This is the same guy that the Calder Trophy is named after, of course. And that was it. Hamilton Tigers, as a National Hockey League team, would be done at the end of that season. So, yeah, ugly ending there. The Prince of Wales Trophy was awarded to the St. Patrick's as a regular season winner. Now, what's interesting is, that's what this book tells me, that they finished first, because they didn't allow Hamilton, who actually finished first, to have the trophy. However, if you look at Wikipedia, it says Montreal was given the Prince of Wales Trophy as regular season winners. So, printed word, Wikipedia. At any rate, that's why I got the asterisk there, to make sure that I didn't forget that what's said on the internet is not necessarily matching what's in my book. And it's not the first time that that's happened. I do tend to skew towards believing the book since it was written in the late 90s, and so a little bit more recent information for them then than what it is now. And yeah, the internet and Wikipedia, it's usually pretty reliable, but not always 100%. All right, December 9th of 1924, the St. Patrick's sign Hap Day. Hap was a nickname, and of course, it looks like Happy Day, and sure. So you have Babe Die, Hap Day, there you go. January 20th of 1925, Clint Benedict reaches 20 shutouts in his NHL career. That was an all-time high at that point. He continues to be one of the best goaltenders, even though he is no longer with Ottawa. He's out of Ottawa. Alex Connell takes over for him in Ottawa. Does pretty well. He sets a rookie record with his 7th shutout that year. So, you go from Benedict to Connell. Connell's pretty darn good too. Ottawa, kind of an embarrassment of riches in the goal, as it were. November 1st of 1924, Boston and the Maroons officially are named to the National Hockey League. December 1st of that year, Boston plays their first home game. So that's the first National Hockey League game played outside of Canada. And so the Boston Bruins, the Montreal Maroons in. We know Maroons aren't going to last for that long. We know Boston still around to this day. November 29th of 1924, the Montreal Forum opens. Now, it was meant for the Maroons, but the Canadians opened it. They win the first game against the St. Patrick's 7-1. So for the St. Pat's, not a great night. For Montreal, yeah, pretty good night. Pretty good night. Now, when they did the expansion and the Maroons and Boston were allowed in, they took applications from New York, Pittsburgh, and Philadelphia and shelved those for now. So we know those are going to be NHL markets. In fact, Philadelphia and Pittsburgh will be NHL markets twice. New York, I guess 4 times if you include the New Jersey Devils, and some people consider it to be close enough. I know. Some in New York are going to say it's not the same. I know, I'm just saying in that area, but because you have the New York Americans as well, right? But they're not in yet either. So you have New York Rangers and New York Americans are going to come in. The Lady Byng Trophy was donated to the NHL, and of course that is for the most gentlemanly player in the National Hockey League, and it was awarded that year. The Tigers get dissolved at the end of the season. So, again, tough year for Hamilton. You finally have a good team. You're finally first in the league, and the NHL is like, you guys want more money? You want $200? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to suspend your whole team, and I'm going to fine each player $200. So not only will you not get the extra $200, you're going to make $200 less for playing about 25% more games this year, and you're welcome. So, 6 of the 8 trades that were made that season were for cash. So, very interesting, very different league than the one that we have currently in the National Hockey League. Your Hart Trophy winner that year was Billy Birch for Hamilton. He was 10th in the in the scoring that season. I mentioned yesterday, scorer. It's not the number one scorer that's Hart Trophy winner. No. And Frank Nybor of Ottawa ends up winning the first Lady Byng Trophy. So Babe Dye ends up being the number one scorer that year in the NHL for Toronto. 29 games, 38 goals, 8 assists, 46 points. So he continues to play quite well. Aurel Julia for Montreal, 25 games, 30 goals, 12 assists, 42 points. So still, guys getting more than a goal per game. Cy Denny, 29 games, 27 goals, 14 assists, 41 points for him with Ottawa. Howie Morenz for Montreal, 30 games, 27 goals, 12 assists, 39 points. Jack Adams for Toronto, 27 games, 21 goals, 14 assists, 35 points. Red Green. I should let that one sit for a little bit, shouldn't I? Playing for Hamilton, Red Green, not that Red Green, of course. 30 games, 19 goals, 16 assists, 35 points. Billy Boucher for Montreal, 30 games, 18 goals, 12 assists, 30 points. For Hap Day for Toronto, 26 games, 10 goals, 17 assists, 27 points. Yeah, he's pretty good. And then Shorty Green for Hamilton, that's a great name. Shorty Green is like a fantastic hockey name. 28 games, 18 goals, 9 assists, 27 points. And Billy Birch, who won the Hart Trophy for Hamilton, 27 games, 20 goals, 6 assists, 26 points. So again, by today's standards, that'd be just absolute chaos with the hockey world. Being like, wait, the guy who's 10th in scoring, he didn't even lead in goal. He's the number one guy. He's not even the number one scorer on his own team. What's happening? Your top goalie that year was Jake Forbes for Hamilton. 19, 10, and 1 with a 1.96 goals against. So I guess the defense in front of him gets better, and suddenly Forbes is a pretty good goaltender. John Ross Roach for Toronto goes 19 and 11 with a 2.8 goals against average. Alec Connell for Ottawa, 17, 12, and 1 with a 2.14 goals against average. Georges Vezina for Montreal, 17, 11, and 2 with a 1.81 goals against average. Clint Benedict for the Montreal Maroons, 9, 19, and 2, but he had a 2.12 goals against. So Benedict gives them excellent goaltending. It's just they're an expansion team, so the scoring isn't there. Charles Stewart for Boston had a rough first season by comparison. He goes 5 and 16 with a 3.08 goals against average. Now in the playoffs, it is, as I said, Toronto-Montreal because Hamilton's not allowed to play. So the semifinals become the final. It's the best 2 out of 3, and Montreal wins both. 3-2 in game 1 and 2-0 in game 2. Now, this is the final time we're going to see this happen. The Stanley Cup doesn't go to the NHL team. And people could look at this storyline and say, you know what? After what Frank Calder did to Hamilton, good. So, Victoria in this series, and I was debating about whether or not to wear Victoria or Hamilton for this video. I don't have a Victoria Cougars jersey. I have Victoria Royals, and I thought, well, that's not the NHL team that the PCHA team that became a WCHL team that won the Stanley Cup here. But Victoria wins the first game 5-2. Then the second game is played in Vancouver because there were just too many people wanting tickets. Victoria won that one as well, 3-1. It goes back to Victoria for game 3. Montreal won that one 4-2, and then Victoria wins the fourth game, their third of the series, by a score of 6-1. So they win a best of 5 series in 4. Frank Frederickson and Halder Halderson are the first to win Olympic gold and a Stanley Cup. They won the Olympic gold medal in 1920, and now they had a Stanley Cup to their name. So that's an interesting little piece of trivia for all you fine people on the internet. And so there you go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, of course, we're going to see further expansion into the U.S. soon enough, and things are going to get kind of murky when it comes to some of these teams and whatnot. We know that Ottawa eventually moves and all that fun stuff. So that's coming up. Let me know your thoughts on the 1924-25 season. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.